Ever said something while you were angry, and the moment the words left your mouth, you wished you could pull them back? You know that feeling. Your heart is beating fast. Your mind is running through everything this person has done. You are angry, offended, disappointed, and suddenly you feel like you have to say something. You have to defend yourself. You have to explain yourself. You have to make them understand how badly they hurt you. So you react. You send the message. You make the phone call. You raise your voice. You post the indirect message. You say the thing you promised yourself you would never say. And for a few minutes, you feel powerful. You feel like, yes, I finally told them. But then the anger goes away. And now you are sitting there thinking, why did I say that? That is the problem with reacting. Reaction gives you a few seconds of satisfaction and can leave you with hours, days, or even years of consequences. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Not because you are weak, not because you don't have something to say, not because what happened doesn't matter, but because you understand that not every situation deserves access to your emotions. Think about it. Someone says something disrespectful to you. Maybe they were trying to provoke you. Maybe they wanted to see you lose your temper. Maybe they knew exactly which button to press because they have studied your weaknesses. And you give them exactly what they wanted. You react. Now they are calm. And you are angry. They have gone on with their day, and you are replaying the conversation in your head. They are sleeping peacefully, while you are lying in bed thinking about what you should have said. That's how reaction steals your peace. And sometimes, you don't even realize it until later. You see a message. You read it once. You get offended. You read it again. Now you're even more offended. You type a long response. You delete it. You type another one. You send it. Then you put your phone down, but somehow your mind is still holding the phone. You are still arguing with that person in your imagination. You are still creating responses to conversations that haven't even happened. And all of this started because you reacted before you gave yourself time to think. Listen, there is a difference between responding and reacting. A reaction is emotional. A response is intentional. A reaction says, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you back. A response says, you hurt me, but I refuse to allow your behavior to decide who I become. That is maturity. And maturity does not mean you never get angry. You will get angry. You will be disappointed. People will misunderstand you. People will betray your trust. People will say things about you that you never expected them to say. Sometimes, people you love will disappoint you. Sometimes, someone will accuse you of something you didn't do. Sometimes, you will be treated unfairly. And yes, you may have every reason to be angry, but having a reason to be angry does not mean you have to make a decision while you are angry. That is something I want you to remember. You don't have to decide while you're angry. You don't have to reply while you're upset. You don't have to make a permanent decision because of a temporary emotion. Give yourself time. Walk away. Put the phone down. Take a breath. Pray. Sleep on it. Let your emotions settle before you decide what deserves a response. Because sometimes, after you calm down, you realize the thing you were about to say wasn't even worth saying. Have you ever noticed that? Something happens and immediately you think, I'm going to tell this person exactly how I feel. But after an hour, you're calmer. After a few hours, you're thinking differently. And the next morning, you're grateful you didn't send that message. That's why Proverbs 14:29 says, he that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. Look at those words. Slow to wrath. Not someone who never gets angry. Someone who is slow to anger. Someone who doesn't allow anger to take the steering wheel. Because anger can make an intelligent person do foolish things. Anger can make you expose information you were supposed to keep private. Anger can make you insult someone you actually love. Anger can make you leave a relationship you should have handled differently. Anger can make you send a message that gets screenshotted and shared. Anger can make you say, I hate you, when what you really meant was, you hurt me. And sometimes, the apology comes later. I'm sorry. But unfortunately, some words don't disappear just because you apologized. Some damage doesn't disappear because you said, I didn't mean it. So don't make yourself clean up a mess that 5 minutes of self-control could have prevented. And here's something else we need to talk about. Not reacting does not mean becoming a doormat. This is important, because sometimes people hear, "don't react," and think it means, let everybody disrespect you. There are moments when you need to speak. There are moments when you need to set boundaries. There are moments when you need to confront something. There are moments when you need to say, "this is not acceptable." There are moments when silence is not wisdom. Silence is avoidance. The goal is not to become a person who never responds. The goal is to become a person who knows when to respond, how to respond, and when to walk away. There are things you should let slide because they are not worth your peace, and there are things you should address because ignoring them will only make the situation worse. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Imagine someone makes a small comment about you. Normally, you would immediately defend yourself, but this time, you pause. You think, do I really need to explain myself? Maybe not. Maybe the person already knows what they are doing. Maybe your peace is more valuable than proving a point. So you smile. You keep moving. You don't react. And suddenly, you realize something beautiful. You didn't lose. You controlled yourself. Because sometimes winning isn't making the other person feel bad. Sometimes winning is going home with your peace intact. Sometimes winning is refusing to become the version of yourself that anger was trying to create. And sometimes, the person who offended you is expecting a reaction. They are waiting for you to explode. They are waiting for you to say something they can use against you. They are waiting for you to prove their opinion about you. Don't give them that satisfaction. You don't have to attend every argument you are invited to. You don't have to answer every accusation. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. You don't have to explain yourself to everybody. And you certainly don't have to respond to every message immediately just because your phone is demanding your attention. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to say, "I'll respond when I'm calm." You are allowed to say, "I need some time to think about this." You are allowed to walk away from a heated conversation and return when both people can actually communicate. That is not weakness. That is self-control. And self-control is strength. Think about Jesus. People mocked him. People accused him. People lied about him. People misunderstood him. And yet he didn't spend his entire life trying to prove himself to everybody. There were moments when he spoke. There were moments when he confronted. And there were moments when he simply remained silent. That should teach us something. You don't have to respond to everything. Sometimes silence is not surrender. Sometimes silence is restraint. Sometimes silence is wisdom. Sometimes silence is you saying, "I'm not going to allow this moment to pull me out of character." Because here's the truth. You can be right and still respond wrongly. You can have a valid point and still communicate it in the wrong way. You can be genuinely hurt and still say something you will regret. You can have every reason to be angry and still choose self-control. That's where real growth begins. Not when you stop feeling emotions, but when you stop allowing your emotions to control your behavior. The mature version of you is not the woman who never gets angry. She's the woman who gets angry and knows when to pause. She's the woman who is hurt but doesn't become cruel. She's the woman who is disappointed but doesn't become destructive. She's the woman who can say, "What you did was wrong," without becoming wrong herself. She's the woman who can walk away without slamming the door. She's the woman who can say no without screaming. She's the woman who can establish a boundary without turning it into revenge. She's the woman who understands that peace is not something you find after everybody behaves perfectly. Peace is something you learn to protect even when people don't. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, pause. Before you type, pause. Before you call, pause. Before you post, pause. Before you make that decision, pause. Ask yourself, am I responding because this needs to be addressed, or am I reacting because my emotions are loud right now? That one question can save you from so many regrets. Because not every feeling deserves an action. Read that again in your heart. Not every feeling deserves an action. You can feel angry without becoming angry. You can feel offended without becoming offensive. You can feel hurt without hurting someone. You can feel disappointed without destroying something. You can feel the urge to respond and still choose silence. That's discipline. And sometimes, the most powerful response you can give is to remain calm when everything inside you is screaming, "Say something." Because when you learn not to react, you start taking your power back. And in the next chapter, we're going deeper. Because it's easy to say, "Don't react." But what do you actually do when you're shaking with anger? What do you do when someone disrespects you to your face? What do you do when you're tempted to send that message? What do you do when staying silent feels impossible? That's where real self-control begins. There will be moments in your life when somebody will say something that hits a nerve so deeply, you will feel the response rising before you even have time to think. You will feel your chest tighten. Your heart will start beating faster. Your mind will immediately begin preparing a response. And somewhere inside you, a voice will say, "Oh, so you want to talk to me like that?" That is the moment you need to be careful. Because the moment you feel like you must respond immediately is often the moment you need to pause the longest. Not because the other person is right. Not because you are afraid of confrontation. But because you understand something they may not understand. When you are angry, your emotions are loud. And when your emotions are loud, your wisdom can become quiet. That is why you don't have to react when you are angry. First, because anger can make you say things you don't actually mean. Have you ever been angry with somebody you love and suddenly found yourself saying, "I don't care about you anymore"? But deep down, you cared. You were just hurt. You were frustrated. You wanted them to understand your pain. But because you were angry, you used the strongest words you could find. And later, when the anger disappeared, the love was still there. But the words were already spoken. That's why you need to learn to separate what you feel from what you say. You can be angry and still choose your words carefully. You can be hurt and still refuse to become hurtful. You can be disappointed and still choose dignity. The second reason you don't have to react when you're angry is because anger makes small problems look bigger than they really are. Something that might have been a simple misunderstanding can become a full-blown argument because two angry people are now trying to prove who is right. Someone says something. You interpret it one way. You respond. They respond to your response. You respond to their response. And before you know it, you are arguing about something that happened 3 months ago. Have you noticed how arguments do that? You start with one issue and suddenly you are bringing up everything. You did this last year, and don't forget when you did that. And what about that time? Now you're no longer solving the problem. You're collecting evidence. And that's when you need to stop. Sometimes you have to say, "Let's talk about this when we're both calm." That one sentence can save a relationship from unnecessary damage. The third reason you don't have to react when you're angry is because reacting gives your emotions control over your decisions, and you should never allow a temporary emotion to make a permanent decision for you. Don't quit your job because you're angry today. Don't end a relationship because you're furious tonight. Don't block everybody because someone disappointed you. Don't send the message you've been typing for 20 minutes. Don't post your pain online because you want somebody to notice that you're hurting. Don't make a major decision at the peak of an emotion. Wait, breathe, pray, think, then decide. Because tomorrow, you may still be angry, but you will probably be thinking more clearly. And sometimes, the best decision is not the one you make when your emotions are at their highest. The fourth reason you don't have to react is because not everybody deserves access to the most emotional version of you. Some people provoke you because they know exactly what will make you lose control. They know what to say. They know what topic to bring up. They know what insecurity to touch. And sometimes, they are not looking for a solution. They are looking for a reaction. Don't give them one. There is a certain kind of power that comes when someone expects you to explode and you simply look at them and say, "I'm not going to have this conversation while we're both upset." That's power. You didn't lose. You didn't surrender. You simply refuse to allow another person's behavior to control yours. And let me tell you something else. You don't always have to prove that you are right. Sometimes you know the truth. God knows the truth. And that's enough. You don't have to spend 3 hours explaining yourself to someone who has already decided to misunderstand you. You don't have to chase people around trying to correct every opinion they have about you. You don't have to defend your character to everybody. Sometimes you can simply say, "God knows my heart," and keep moving. Because peace becomes very expensive when you keep trying to purchase it with explanations. And there is another reason you should stop reacting when you're angry. You need to protect the person you are becoming. Think about that. Every time you react, you are practicing a behavior. If you constantly explode when you're frustrated, you're teaching yourself to explode. If you constantly send angry messages, you're training yourself to communicate through anger. If you constantly run away from difficult conversations, you're training yourself to avoid confrontation. But if you start pausing, if you start breathing, if you start praying before responding, if you start saying, "Let me think about this first," you are training yourself to become emotionally disciplined. And one day, something that used to make you lose your mind won't even move you the same way anymore. That's growth. You will still notice it. You will still feel it. But it won't control you. Imagine someone insulting you. The old you would immediately respond. The old you would raise your voice. The old you would say something twice as painful. But the new you takes a breath. You look at them. You say, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. We can continue this conversation when we're both calm." And you walk away. That is not weakness. That is maturity. And if you need to cry afterward, cry. If you need to pray, pray. If you need to journal, journal. If you need to talk to someone you trust, talk. But don't confuse processing your emotions with acting on them. You are allowed to feel everything. You just don't have to act on everything you feel. That's one of the most important lessons you can learn about emotional maturity. You can feel like calling them without calling them. You can feel like sending the message without sending it. You can feel like screaming without screaming. You can feel like giving up without giving up. You can feel like getting revenge and still choose forgiveness. The feeling is not the command. You are still in control. And sometimes, the most mature thing you can say is, "I'm too angry to talk about this right now." That's not running away. That's creating space for wisdom. The Bible says in James 1:19-20, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God." Slow to speak, slow to wrath. That is powerful. Because sometimes we are quick to hear what offended us, quick to speak what we feel, and quick to become angry. But God is teaching us another way. Listen first. Pause. Think. Then speak. And when you do speak, don't speak simply to release your anger. Speak because your words have purpose. Speak because something needs to be corrected. Speak because a boundary needs to be established. Speak because truth needs to be communicated. Not because you want the other person to hurt as badly as you do. There is a huge difference. And please understand this. Forgiveness does not mean you have to keep giving someone access to hurt you. You can forgive someone and still create distance. You can forgive someone and still set boundaries. You can forgive someone and still say, "This relationship cannot continue in the same way." Don't react with revenge. Respond with wisdom. Don't destroy yourself trying to punish somebody else. Sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming so emotionally disciplined that they no longer have the power to pull you out of character. And here's something that may be difficult to hear. Sometimes you are not actually angry at the person in front of you. Sometimes you're carrying anger from something that happened before. You're frustrated about your life. You're tired. You're disappointed in yourself. You're overwhelmed. You're hurting. And then somebody says one little thing, and suddenly you explode. They touched the wound, but they didn't create the wound. That's why self-awareness matters. Before you react, ask yourself, why am I this angry? Is this really about what just happened? Or am I carrying something else? Am I responding to this person? Or am I releasing everything I've been holding inside? Those questions can change your life. Because sometimes the person who irritated you doesn't deserve the amount of anger you're about to give them. And sometimes you need to go somewhere quiet and admit, I'm not okay. Not everything needs to become an argument. Sometimes you need rest. Sometimes you need prayer. Sometimes you need healing. Sometimes you need to forgive yourself. Sometimes you simply need to stop pretending that nothing is bothering you. And when you become honest with yourself, you become less reactive with other people. You stop making everybody else responsible for emotions you haven't dealt with. You start taking ownership of your inner world. And that's where your peace begins. So the next time you are angry, don't immediately respond. Put the phone down. Don't send the paragraph. Don't make the call. Don't post the status. Don't involve 10 people in a situation that started between 2 people. Don't make a permanent decision at the peak of a temporary emotion. Give yourself time. Take a walk. Drink some water. Pray. Sit quietly. Write down what you want to say before you actually say it. Then read it again when you're calm. You might be surprised by how much of it you no longer want to say. And if you still need to have the conversation, have it. But have it from a place of clarity, not chaos. Say what needs to be said. Set the boundary. Tell the truth. Stand up for yourself. But don't lose yourself while trying to prove yourself. That's the difference. You don't have to become cold. You don't have to stop caring. You don't have to become silent forever. You simply need to stop allowing every emotion to become an instruction. Because you are bigger than that moment. That insult is not bigger than your future. That argument is not bigger than your peace. That message is not worth your character. That person's opinion is not worth losing yourself. And that anger you're feeling right now, it will pass. But the words you say while you're angry may stay with someone long after your anger is gone. So pause. Let the moment pass. And then choose. Choose wisdom. Choose self-control. Choose peace. Choose to respond instead of react. Because there is a version of you on the other side of emotional discipline that you have not met yet. A calmer you, a wiser you, a stronger you, a woman who doesn't need to prove everything, a woman who doesn't answer every insult, a woman who doesn't allow people to drag her into chaos, a woman who knows when to speak and when to walk away, a woman who can be angry without becoming destructive, a woman who can be hurt without becoming bitter, a woman who can say, "This hurt me," without turning around and hurting somebody else. That woman is still you, and you become her one decision at a time. So here's your challenge. The next time you feel yourself getting angry, don't react immediately. Pause for 10 seconds. Take a breath. And ask yourself, will I be proud of my response tomorrow? If the answer is no, don't say it yet. If you need more time, take it. If you need to pray, pray. If you need to walk away, walk away. And if the situation truly needs to be addressed, come back when you can speak without allowing anger to speak for you. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to get the last word. You don't have to prove that you are right. Sometimes your greatest victory is leaving the situation with your peace, your dignity, and your character still intact. So today, make a decision. I will not allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions for me. I will not react just because someone wants a reaction. I will not become cruel because someone was cruel to me. I will pause. I will pray. I will think. And then I will respond with wisdom. If this message spoke to you, don't just listen and move on. Take it with you. The next time you feel that anger rising, remember these words. Don't react. Pause. Think. Pray. Then respond. And if you know someone who is always reacting from anger, someone who sends the message and regrets it, someone who keeps losing their peace because of other people's behavior, share this video with them. Maybe this is the reminder they needed today. And if this message helped you, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and tell me below. I choose to respond, not react. Let that be your decision. Let that be your discipline. And let that be the beginning of a calmer, wiser, stronger you.